Well, so I've been at BrickCon a few times, and it's strange to be at this side of the room this time. But thank you all for coming. Like, probably all of you, I started with Lego when I was a little kid. I had a big, bright red box full of bricks, just random parts, and, but just randomly put them together. That's where we all start. Let's play. So yeah, playing with Lego as a kid, it was just fun. Lost my sight when I was 7, and now it goes from being fun to rehab tools, because the rehab worker gave me bricks to play with, so that I could get more sensitive to my fingers to learn to read Braille. And then I'm playing with my mom. She's telling me where to put the pieces, and this is also sort of fun. But as you get a bit older as a kid, it's like, seriously? I have to beg on Mum? Okay, so then, wasn't your fun? I didn't stop loving Lego. So then I went off to boarding school, actually. I spent 8 years from 10 to 18 in a residential school where everything was just set up by people. And there, I was one of the only kids to play with Lego. But I was like, you can't just play with Lego because that's for kids, right? So it was Lego Technics. When I was 10, I got my first Lego Technic set, and I get volunteers to help me build. And actually, the maths teacher started doing lunchtime clubs for Lego Technic, where he would get a spur wheel. This is, if you can imagine a pen with a spiky wheel on the end, and you run it along thick cardboard, and it makes a dotted line. So he would actually handmade tactile instructions for Lego Technics.
And this was kind of cool, so still got to keep playing with Lego even through my teenage years. But again, in the disguise of Technic this time. And I go off to university, and we need a new way to disguise Lego, because I never stopped playing. People talk about the dark ages, like the dark years. I just kept playing. So, yeah. So for me this time, okay, I get a book scholarship. I get quite a bit of money to buy books for college. Books? What are we going to do here? Excuse me, can I use it for other education material? I'm a computer scientist, Lego robot. Okay, done. Okay, so then this sort of continues. But then I had a bit of a gap because, I started the workplace and working at Microsoft and not that much time. But I used to come here a lot to Seattle. I lived in London. I grew up in London. So I would often visit every 6 months or so, visit Seattle. And I got married. And on one of my trips after getting married, I thought, okay, let's take a souvenir home. And, okay, so I took the Lego Space Needle back. And wow, my wife actually enjoyed playing with Lego too. So now I had someone else to read the instructions and to play with. So that became like our date night thing. We started going through the architecture sets together. And that's really cool because Lego architecture represents real things that you can't feel. So, you've got a skyscraper or a cathedral or whatever architecture is. But as a blind person, you experience what you can feel, like the ground and the wall, and what you can hear, like the echoes, or, you can hear that it's a marble surrounding or whatever. But it's very different. You don't get to see the macro scale. So this was something that really brought me into architecture because the best example of this is Trafalgar Square. I grew up in London. I often would sit on the steps and be around the pigeons. And when I was a kid, my dad would sit me on top of the statues of the lion. And it was part of growing up in London. But so we built the Lego Trafalgar Square. And I was like, wow, here are the stairs. And this is how they're laid out. And here's the courtyard. And here's Nelson's Column. And all the little bits. And what's fascinating is not only could I get an appreciation, what goes much further is that by putting it together, you get a much better appreciation than feeling a finished model. So if you finish, for me at least, every blind person's a bit different. For me, feeling a finished model, it's like, okay, this is going to fall off first of all. But even if it doesn't fall off, then, okay, it's a sloped roof and there's a wall. But as you're assembling it, you get to appreciate that, oh, there's this repeating pattern. Or, oh, this little thing here is actually a tree or a lamppost. And yeah, so Lego became a whole new way to explore famous landmarks of the world. But there's another problem. So, okay, now I found a new person to help me read, but then we get a kid. And, time to do stuff together gets much shorter. And when kid is old enough to help, then, building kind of stops. I got to the point where I'd buy myself a Lego architecture set for my birthday every year, and the year later we still haven't actually finished last year's build because time for three of us to be together and play with Lego. It's hard. So kind of I stopped again. But then in 2019, I heard on the radio, or a podcast actually, that Lego had started making audio instructions. There's a site, legoaudioinstructions.com. And they had a few sets, maybe 20 at most, which had text-based instructions. So they're going to write out in words. Take the 2x2 plate and put it on the table, and now find a 2x4 brick and orient it horizontally and put it on the right two studs. And so in words, they're doing what the people who had been helping me all these years had been doing. And so for the first time, I was independently able to follow the instructions and build something. And that was really cool for the one or two sets that interested me from, the 20 that they built. A lot of them were very kiddish. But then I found out that, how did this come about? What was the story behind this? So I'm very excited that Matthew joined me. So I reached out to Matthew, and because I learned that he was one of the inspirations for Lego to do this, and he got in touch with them, and he was the driving force to make Lego create these accessible instructions. And so I reached out to Matthew, we became friends online, and it's so cool that he came all the way from Boston to be here at BrickCon today. So I'm going to give you the microphone, Matthew, and hear how this came about. Yep.
So my Lego journey started, like many of yours, with a crate of random pieces at the end of a driveway with a free sign on it. Soon enough, I was building sets with my parents, but as Saqib said, it's a time-consuming process, and even building a small set took us many hours. At school, we'd sit around the Lego bin, fishing for the pieces we needed, and my friends would tell tall tales of the latest spaceship or castle or motorized helicopter they'd just built. And how'd you do it? I'd ask. We looked at the instructions and they'd tell us what to do, they said, as if it couldn't be any easier than that. Well, since I couldn't build sets on my own, I'd read Amazon and BrickSet reviews to get a taste of what building them must be like. Everything changed on my 13th birthday, when Lila, a family friend, brought me a big cardboard box and a big fat binder. In the box was the Battle of Elmut, a domed Middle Eastern palace from the Prince of Persia series. And in the big binder were text-based instructions that she brailled out on a Braille typewriter, describing where each piece should go. As Saqib said, they would go something like, put a red 2x2 tile on the front corner of the 4x6 plate, put the other one symmetrically to the right, for example. And a sighted person would sort the colors of the different pieces so you wouldn't get lost, and Lila would sort pieces for each step into a Ziploc and label it in Braille so I didn't have to worry about mixing all those colors up. And on that day, I spent all day building, and by evening, the 800-piece palace loomed before me on the kitchen table. And here I was, able to experience this quintessential part of childhood and adulthood, building a Lego set, like all my friends had for years and years. Once I finished that palace, I wanted to bring these instructions to other blind kids so that they could experience that thrill of building on their own and being in that flow state and not having to worry about a thing in the world, just the pieces and where they went. And like Saqib says, Lego isn't just a toy for blind people, but it's a way to touch the untouchable and learn about those vehicles and buildings and objects that are just too big for us to touch. If we tried to climb the Statue of Liberty, we'd get arrested. If we build that Statue of Liberty, no one knows. No one cares what we did. We built it on our own. We're not going to get in trouble, and off we go, knowing all of its details. And soon, we'd created a website, and we posted all our instructions there. And as soon as that set went live, we started getting emails. Emails from blind kids. One boy wrote us and said, "Hey, I built my first set with your instructions, and I didn't know I could do it. You've made the impossible possible. he told us. And blind parents, they wrote us too. They said, hey, we're glad that we can finally build sets with our kids. You know how hard it is? Our kids, they don't want us to help them. They just build, and then they say, hey, Mom, I'm done. We're like, wow, you did it that quickly? They're like, yeah, I can see the instructions, Mom. It's not that hard. And so now we can annoy our children. Hey, Johnny, are you sure you built that correctly? After those emails, a few months later, Lila, the family friend, got diagnosed with cancer. But despite all of her grueling treatments, she kept on writing, kept writing more instructions, and sorting those pieces into Ziploc bags so that I could build quicker. Lila died in 2017, and at that point, I realized that I had a very simple choice. I could either let the project die with her, or make it keep going. So I convinced Lego to create their own text-based instructions for the blind. In my nonprofit, Bricks for the Blind, we create instructions for other sets, the ones that Lego don't have time to adapt. You can find all of our instructions at bricksfortheblind.org. We've adapted over 140 sets, totaling more than 60,000 pieces. Well, that's enough pieces to build every single modular building and the 10,000 piece Eiffel Tower. We've also adapted all of the builds for this year's first LEGO League competition, so that blind students can fully participate in any first LEGO League team that they want to join. And all of our instructions, they're written by volunteers, sighted volunteers from all over the world. The US, Germany, England, Canada, Italy, the UK. And then we have our team of blind testers. And those testers are the ones who check those instructions for errors. They build the set, they check it, send us revisions, our writers revise, and then we post it. If you'd like to write instructions with us, let me know. I will send you a guide that explains how to write them. We give you a small $10 set. You pick it from a spreadsheet, you write the instructions, send them to us. We get them to a blind tester, test it, check for errors, send back to you, you revise, we post it, and everyone is happy. And we will pay you for the instructions that you write, and also reimburse you for the set. And even you, AFOLs, even you cannot resist the call of free Lego. So, Saqib, back to you. Passing you the microphone.
And I got to say thank you, Matthew, because you've taken my Lego hobby to a whole new level. And yes, you are single-handedly responsible for so many dollars spent and a lot of fun had. And also, you know, the work you've done convincing Lego to add some of their own, but as you say, there's only a few, and the work on Bricks for the Blind really scales that to so many more through this really cool partnership between volunteers who write and volunteers who do the testing. It's a really great system. But as a technologist, someone who works in AI at Microsoft by day, I start thinking, what's the future of this? So these sets have really enabled me to do so many new builds. For example, the Statue of Liberty or Chevrolet Corvette. And it's a lot of fun to be able to build much bigger sets than I could before. The challenge is that these bigger sets, it takes someone a lot of effort, many, many hours to write those instructions. So, okay, as a technologist, I've started to think about how do we make this easier? I don't think we're quite at the point where you could take, say, an LDRAW file and give it to AI and say, hey, describe. There's a lot more nuance that the writers do than that. But starting to look into how we can make the job of writing the instructions that more convenient, a bit quicker, so that those really big sets can be described more easily. So I'm quite excited about the future, about scaling this, because there's so many different themes, so many things that different kids and adults are interested in. So I'm quite excited by the technological side of this as well, and we're going to keep working on that. But if anyone's interested in that, if any software people around, love to talk about that too. There are. Hey, this is Seattle. All right. So that's it for the talking part. And in a minute, you're going to be able to try and do this for yourself. Lights out and all. So let's do a bit of Q&A if anyone has any questions. But then in a minute, we're going to get building.
So I had one question. This is Tom. I've spoken to both of you the last couple of days, and it's been a pleasure. I naively also thought we could just use AI to do this, and I spent some time on your website. And one of the things I realized is that it's not just about saying put the red 1x1 in the upper left corner of this larger plate, because there's more of an emotional aspect of building Lego, understanding the context of the model, understanding the characters, understanding the printing on the minifigure and all that. I thought that was fascinating. I'd love to hear you share with the group not just the technical elements of your spoken instructions and the best versions of them, but the more expressive and emotional parts of making those instructions, so kids can and adults can have this full experience.
Yes. Thank you. I think our goal really is to harbor, and we want to usher forth the next generation of blind Lego fans. And the way to do that, kids or adults, is to entice them. And the way you entice them, you give them as close to the sighted box set building experience as possible. And so we're describing all this stuff: minifig prints, sticker prints, part prints, advertisements, box art, because if you don't describe that, then you're not going to get them to buy more sets. It's that simple. When a sighted person looks at a box, they're enticed by what they see. They're not thinking about piece counts and parts list necessarily. They see thing, monkey see, monkey buy. And so in our case, we create all these descriptions because we want our blind builders not to feel left out. Because sure, we can just give them the parts and tell them where to put them, and they will build the thing. But they won't have a complete building experience, I think. And when we think about the sighted builder, if a blind person goes to a Lego store, it's a bunch of boxes. And there are small ones and big ones and square ones and rectangular ones, but they're still boxes. You can shake them and assume that this might be a $20 set, or this one's more rectangular and longer, it might be a $30 set. But other than that, you really don't know much. And all the details that we're offering in terms of prints and advertisements and whatever, we want the blind person to feel also that this experience was worth it. Because for the blind person, they bought a set, they got a box, they had a sighted person. Our instructions have groups, and those groups are different step numbers, pieces that get grouped together for different steps for ease of building. So group 1 is steps 1 through 3, group 2 steps 4 through 6, so that we don't overwhelm the builder with too many pieces. And so the blind person has gone through this whole process. They've gotten a box, they have a sighted person sort those pieces, and now it's time to build. And when that building time comes, we want that builder to feel energized, we want them to feel supported, and we want them to feel like it's worthwhile. Because if you're a beginning builder, you're bopping on through this, but you're not really sure what's happening. You might not know what a brick is. You might not know what a plate is. And so we have a lot of descriptive text at the beginning of each instruction that explains, this is a brick. Here's what it feels like. This is a plate. Here's what it feels like. Vertically, horizontally, symmetrically. Here's what those are like. Because we want that blind builder to feel completely in control of the process and also feel like it was worth their time. Because they're not necessarily Mr. Sighted Eiffel blasting through a set, finding all their pieces, and, I don't know, building the Saturn V in an hour. They're just not in that position. And so, to Tom's point, our goal is we want them to have as much fun as possible, basically. That's that.
We have a question from online. So are there some themes that are more popular or more interesting to the blind community?
Yes. Architecture stuff is very popular. Creator expert stuff is popular with the kids. We're trying to do a lot of City and Minecraft and Friends. And Lego themselves are doing some of the dream sets. We're also doing some Creator 3-in-1s. And it's very funny because we have a lot of adult fans now. And the adult fans are saying, hey, we want the grand piano. We want the Lion Knight's castle. And we said, that's lovely. We have 3 writers. We can do small sets, but that Lion Knight's castle is going to take, I don't know, 3 weeks straight of writing without eating or sleeping. That's not something our writers can do. And so our goal is to cover as wide a swath of themes as possible. We do avoid some, like Technic, because it's just a pain to adapt. It can be done, but like I get a headache every time I try and build a Technic set, personally. But then like art sets. Can a blind person theoretically place a bunch of 1x1 round tiles next to 1x1 square tiles in the right order? Yes, with the proper color sorting. Also, for blind people who have enough usable vision to see color, and that might be fun. But we can't assume that all blind people have enough vision to see color, or like the blindness spectrum is so varied that some people don't need our instructions at all. They have enough vision to see standard graphical ones, and that's also great. And so basically what I mean is we're trying to cover a lot of child-centric themes, but also have enough of a focus on adult-centric themes so that our adults don't run away, basically. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I'm CJ. We interacted at my castle.
Yep.
Which really brings to mind the question of what is BrickCon like for you?
I think BrickCon has been an amazing experience in terms of the mock makers are so kind. You guys are taking so much time to really help myself and Saqib, who I'll give the mic to in a second, to recount his BrickCon experience as well, because Saqib has been here for many years and knows the convention well. But in my case, as a newcomer, the mock makers, they're taking time out of their day to really give a complete overview of their mock. They're very kind, and they let you touch everything. Do you know how rare that is? If I go to a Lego store, everything is behind glass. Oh, what a beautiful glass case you have. Such elegant shaping, and the bricks are printed on the front, and it's it's boring. And the fact that you guys, it's a matter of trust. Do you guys trust a blind guy to not demolish your mock? Yes. And that not everyone can trust a blind guy. And the fact that these mock makers are so kind and just they give you the time that you need to interact with their mock in the level of detail that you want. And that is so amazing, because I was looking at Wayne's spinning parts catalog yesterday. I was there for an hour. I was every single part. Oh, the 1x1 plate with the triple hinge from 1982. What a beautiful part. Wayne has the patience of a saint. And it's just an amazing experience, because as a blind person, I can go on BrickLink and look up a part and its history and whatever, but I'm not a human set library. I don't have access to all these sets. And it's very useful. Something like Wayne's mock is very helpful, because as a writer of instructions from various eras of Lego, it's very useful to know what these parts feel like. And it's just the kindness of these people is amazing, because from a sighted mock maker's standpoint, it takes you time. It takes you effort to think differently. You're not just saying, hey, look at my thing. No. For a blind person for whom touch is sequential, you can't touch an entire castle, CJ went room by room. And just the ability for someone to go to zoom in so much into their set that for a blind person, you're going element by element, micro build by micro build. And the patience that these mock makers have to really be able to go into that level of detail with you I'm so thankful that you're making time for this, because I'm of the opinion no one owes you anything, you know? You could just be like, I'm sorry, I'm busy. It's motorized. Meh. And the fact that you're not in that state of mind, and the fact that you're able, like, how do I phrase this? I'm fairly nerdy when it comes to bricks. If I feel a brick, I will think about it from a building technique standpoint. I will nerd out about your snot usage in, I don't know, the third step of your staircase. And the fact that you have the time and the energy to be like, yes, here's how I built it, or whatever the case may be. I'm just so thankful that you guys are taking the time to really let us as blind builders immerse ourselves fully in your mocks. So thank you for that. Saqib, off to you.
Yes, and yeah, just like any other two people, we as blind builders also quite different. So I, first of all, like Matthew said, when you feel a mock. Okay, so back to the question. How's BrickCon been? It's my fourth BrickCon. I keep coming back. I love it. It's one of the highlights of my year. And it's become a family thing. My son, literally, at the summer, he's like, when's it going to be BrickCon? He's only 6, but he just loves coming to the public part and watching the GBC, amongst other things. But for the first few years, BrickCon for me was all about just meeting awesome people. And yeah, everyone's amazing. It's just great to talk to people. But I didn't really get to feel the models much. So very different to Matthew. And I think that's because it never really occurred to me that I'm a bit timid of putting my hands on someone's mock in case I'm going to like knock off a little piece. Matthew sort of shown me that actually, you know what, so many people are willing to show. And last year, what I started doing was I went around on the Sunday evening after when everyone's tearing down, like, now it doesn't matter. So on the Sunday nights, I've had a lot of fun looking at, especially I love seeing the details, hearing the stories behind the mocks. And again, like Matthew said, a big thank you to everyone who accommodates that, because it's a different way of experiencing. But hearing people's individual stories and getting hands-on with something, that's not something typically I would have thought would be possible. Because everything is so intricate, and sometimes there's a lot of detail, a lot of effort put into it. But really appreciate those of you who's let us get hands-on. But maybe one idea that I've had, which I've talked to a few of you about, is this idea of actually getting descriptions of the mocks up. So where I'm putting together a document of people describing their own mocks, and I think that would be a great resource just to have generally, because there's so many great mocks here, that more than you can possibly go around and feel. So. Yeah, thank you.
I always joke that. Sorry, can I borrow the mic from you?
Okay, yeah.
I always have a joke when people say, "Oh, our mock is fragile," and then I touch it and nothing falls off, and they say, "How did you do that?" And I say, "Well, you passed the blind person test."
But you only know that after it's not fallen apart.
True.
All right, I've got a question for you guys. Saqib, I talked to you last year. You actually came and looked at a map that my friend Tom and I built of the island we live on. And you were able to touch it, and we talked about the topographical heights and everything. And I think I might have asked you this then, but I don't remember, but I'm definitely asking you it now. What mock are you going to bring next year?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I've never had the courage to bring a mock before, but actually, thanks to a lot of the writers, been building a lot more in the past year. I have so many ideas, but maybe the most creative idea, someone said, what if you may... So part of the thing is, it's the inverse of the architecture sets. With the architecture sets, you get to build someone else's creation, and you get to feel what it's like. Now, if you inverse that, now I'm a blind guy who doesn't know what things are like, and I've got to make something that looks like what other people see. Until someone said, no, you could make a little micro-scale world the way you experience it. So it's like, intriguing. What if you had a city where everything was 6 foot high, and anything more than 6 foot high didn't exist? What if you just had roads which were just purely tactile? What does a car become? Does it just become a nuisance that could, come down the road? So I'm not sure. It's an idea. Don't know if I'm going to do it, but I love the idea.
Hi, my name's Doug, and thank you both for being here. I took a technical writing class in college, and one of the things they had us do was build something out of Lego and write the instructions for how we built it and give it to someone else to recreate. And it was amazing the way that people would interpret what we'd written. And so have you had to develop standards to make it so that people understand the way you intend for an instruction to come across?
Yeah, I'll let Matthew speak to that. But I've recently started trying to write a set of instructions. And as a builder, without thinking much about this, you realize that, there is this sort of, the parts obviously have names, and there is a system that's, Matthew can say if it's formalized, which seems to be you. So handing it to you.
Yep. The system is formalized. Our goal is simple but comprehensible, in the sense that thankfully all the parts have names. The things that new writers usually struggle with is verticals and horizontals and parts on certain studs of certain columns and rows and who overhangs by how much to what end. And this stuff is all stuff that can be practiced. And we always have writers start very small. So we level them up through the ranks, but it's always either a polybag or a small, I don't know, $10 set. And they go at it. And usually the good thing is we have lots of examples. The system is very standardized. If you look at any one of our instructions, you will find that part names are standard and other placement instructions are standard. And so it allows for a certain kind of universality of building. Any one of you could pick a polybag from our spreadsheet and just go at it. And you should give it a try if you like. Anyone else?
So as you experience a mock at BrickCon, what would be an example of something that you would want to or could experience fully in checking someone's mock that was designed, for unsighted people?
It's a difficult question because I think if you design a mock for blind people, I think it's a slippery slope because ultimately this is a convention. The best kind of mocks are mocks that are designed for anyone, sighted, blind, whatever. For example, Alex Gorachek had a brilliant crab, and this crab uses fireboat hulls as claws, and it's absolutely brilliant, brilliant parts usage. And what I find in mocks, a good building technique is like a pun, or a good bit of wordplay, or a rhyme, or whatever. And the more of those I see, the funner it gets. And I think if you build a mock with enjoyment in mind, then a blind person is going to enjoy it. And sure, they might knock off one stud mounted minifigure, whatever. But I think mocks are ultimately built for the fun of it. I'm not necessarily sure that if you build specifically for a blind person to touch it, then I'm not sure. Like, it depends on the person. My thought is, if you build like that, then what's the sighted public going to think? Like, how? It's an interesting question because if you make all the sighted people feel the mock, for example, if you want to give them a blind Lego builder's experience of it, then it would be an interesting case for them. It would be kind of this weird interactive type thing. But then we don't want the mock to lose cohesion and the story that the builder has imbued it with. And what I've found very helpful is that the builders are usually not only walking you through the mock itself, but through the story of it, through the different minifigures and what they're doing and why they're doing. And that's very helpful because usually a lot of that might be told through prints or color schemes or whatever. And because minifig prints are not tactile, you can't tell who's who. But the writers are more than willing, builders I should say, are more than willing to walk you through that. But I will give it to Saqib because Saqib has his own insights. And Saqib, microphone.
Yeah, echoing pretty much what Matthew said, I really feel that I want to experience the same mocks that everyone else is experiencing. The minute it becomes special and different, in some way, unless that's for everyone, you don't want it to be special. For me personally, again, two people experience the world two ways. I struggle with, you're feeling one brick at a time. Your finger touches one thing at a time. So if someone just put me in front of a mock, I'm not sure that I, on the one hand, would get the global overview of what it is. But on top of that, with any piece of art, and in some ways, these are sculptures, the story is really interesting, but you only hear that from the creator. So what I really love, and the moments I treasure from previous BrickCons, are when someone's walked me through how they made it, the story behind it, what they imagined, the little Easter eggs that are hidden. And then, just taking one example of so many, there was a train station I recently felt with, a little vending machine that was selling something on the platform and a little person waiting for the train. There was a tree that I could feel with someone guiding me. And yeah, that level of detail is what always really excites me. Is the intricacies, the details. So that is to say, it's experiencing the mock by feeling it, but it's so much more powerful with the builder, with the creator there as well.
Okay, we
But-
have from online, we have a comment and question. So it says, you guys are super inspiring. Last year I met Saqib and he actually inspired me to think differently about how I might build. And she asks, what has been some of your favorite tactile creations that you have experienced? And do you guys like a wide range of textures, or do you geek out about things like studs not on top, or smooth or rough or greebled creations?
Okay. Wow. Well, first of all, hi. I think I like all sorts. This is then just becomes a very personal thing. I really like the shininess of tiles. So there was a mock last year of a Victorian doll's house, I think it was, where every surface was covered in tiles. So it had this sort of feeling of being like wooden or tile floors, and that was really cool to me. But I wouldn't say, while I like shiny, that's not the only thing. So I think every model is nice to feel and appreciate in its own way. Matthew, what about you?
Microphone? Thanks. I'm in a similar boat to Saqib. I think that greebling is cool. I don't think of a mock as much from a textural standpoint as I do from a content standpoint. I mean, I appreciate texture for what it is. I think it can do wonderful things to lend flavor to a set or to a mock. But I think at the same time, the important thing for me is understanding how that texture adds to the overall experience of the build itself. And I think texture is lovely and it's great, but I think that it is a part of the larger picture. I do nerd out about building techniques just because I build a fair number of sets, and it's just fun being able to be like, oh yes, plate slope from XYZ set. And it's an absolutely useless skill, but it's fun kind of being able to pick out different parts and figure out how people have used them in nerdy ways.
But should we make time check? I'm wondering if we
Yes.
should be building.
Absolutely. Okay. We are. Yes. We will absolutely be around. Yes. So building. We are going to be evil, and there will be tables that have trays on them, and you will have. We're building the go-karts and race drivers set. For you guys who have already done it in a bag build, please don't cheat. You will be tempted to, but don't. We will have instructions. They are graphical. Do not look at them. We will turn out the lights for that reason. So, you will have trays with the parts for bag 1 laid out in them. I will read the instructions for each step. When I'm done reading, you will put the thing, and then I will say, ready? And then we will move on to the next step. You guys will go fairly quickly because you are AFOLs and know what you are doing, unlike other audiences who do not know what a plate is. So, we will turn out the lights, go to your tables, and let me know when you guys will be ready. Okay, so, for those who have not opened their bag 1, if you're a team or a solo builder still, open bag 1, dump it on your tray. Dump. Okay, everyone ready? I will take that as a yes. I am not reading colors because the lights will hopefully be off. So, first thing we do, we get a red, 2x2 plate with 2 small pins. We place it vertically in front of you, so the pins are facing front and back. Then, we would put a 2x8 plate horizontally on top of the 2x2 plate with pins, so that's aligned at the right and overhangs to the left.
People a chance to find the piece.
Yes, we should. I am cruel. I assume that you mock makers would be able to do it without issue. I am wrong. So, first piece is a 2x2 plate with 2 pins sticking out of it. That's going to be vertical in front of us. 1 pin facing us, 1 pin the other way. Yes? The what? I hear skepticism. Okay. You found one! Hooray! People to the left, are you struggling? Oh, those are people to the right, but you are also struggling. Okay. People to the right, what are you struggling with? Everything. Okay. They're not struggling. Sorry, who's on the right? I missed a comment. Okay, people that... No, yonder. My right, which is your left. But they're not struggling, so I'm going to stay the next step now. Our 2x8 is going to go horizontally on top of our 2x2 plate. And the 2x8 is also a plate. And it's going to be aligned at the right, so 6x2 studs overhang to the left. What? You're a professional, man. You know what these pieces feel like. So, 2x8 plate, you know what that feels like. Yes, you do. That goes horizontally on top of the 2x2 plate with 2 pins, so that it is aligned at the right. What does that mean? It means that those studs, the 2x2 stud area at the right, is going to be right on top of that 2x2 plate. However, there will be 6x2 that are overhanging to the left. They are not attached to anything. Understood, Mr. Skeptical? Yes? I will take that as a yes. I will come over and help you, Mr. Skeptical. Someone cries, I did it, which is lovely. I'm coming over to help Mr. Skeptical. And since the lights are off, I cannot... Okay, Mr. Skeptical, can you squeak skeptically? Okay, lovely. Oh, you're good? Why did I wander all the way over here? Oh, you scoundrel. Okay. Yes, they do. To make them even helpfuler, we're going to put a 4x4 plate underneath the 2x8 plate to the left of the 2x2 plate with pin, so that it is centered. What does that mean? It means that it goes right underneath our 2x8 plate to the left of the first piece we placed, so that one row of 1x4 is at the front and one row of 1x4 is at the back. 4x4 plate, yes, 4x4 plate. Yes, it goes underneath so that one row overhangs at the front. The other row overhangs at the back. What about what? Nothing on east. To the east is going to be our 2x2 plate with 2 pins. Make sense? What is that? What? Nothing. It's at the right. Our 2x2 plate with 2 pins is at the right. There's nothing to its right. Nothing east of it. Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, but underneath it. Underneath 2x8, centered. To left of 2x2 with pins. Overhang at south and north. I will check on less skeptical people to the left. People to the left, anything? Are you okay? Okay. I don't hear any moans of suffering, so next step. Okay, next we are going to not suffer by taking our other 2x2 plate with 2 pins. We are going to place it vertically underneath the overhang at the very left, so that the pins face front and back. Vertically, pins, one pin towards you, the other pin away from you. Yes. Smart move. Yes, it is symmetrical. Any problems to my left? Everyone else is right. No? Nothing. Yeah, that is impossible. These are brand new kits. And it doesn't help that this floor is carpeted, so you can't hear if you drop a piece. I will help you separately. Next thing we would need are 2 1x4 tiles with 2 studs on them. They go horizontally on the front and back rows of the black 4x4 plates. If I'm going too fast, yell and I will slow down, or maybe not. Okay, I will walk over to Mr. And try and help you. It is a 1x4 tile with 2 studs. 2 studs, one on its one end, one on the other end. Someone is going, so I need to help them. Or maybe they're just being facetious. Yes, you're being facetious or not? Okay, thank you. You are continuing to not be facetious. Okay, I will walk over. No? You're good? You found it? Okay, great. Everyone, next step or no? Where are we? Okay, whoa. I need to check with everyone. You're a speedy builder. No. Okay, not yet. Guys, where are we? Are we ready? Okay. Can I repeat what? Yes, 1x4, two 1x4 tiles with 2 studs on them. They go, one goes on the front row of the 4x4 plate. The other one goes horizontally on the back row of that same 4x4 plate. They are covering those overhanging rows, south and north, for people to my right who asked about south and north. Okay, I hear an okay. Next up. Okay, we are going to need 2 pieces for this one. We are going to need a 1x2 plate, and then also a 1x2-1x4 bracket. We are going to find those. 1x2 plates and 1x2 4x4 bracket. It is a 1x2 plate with 4 side studs hanging down from it. Hooray. Now, that 1x2 plate is going to go vertically. 1x2 with 4 studs is going to be on the rightmost column of the build. Side studs to the right. To the left of that would be the 1x2 plate. So 1x2 vertically with 4 side studs goes on the rightmost column of the build. 1x2 plate goes vertically to the left. Yes, second column exactly. Lovely. Yes, it goes on top of the 1x8. Sorry, 2x8 that's already there. No. That is righter. You go righter of the 1x4 tiles. One sec, I need to go and check your build.
All right. Matthew, can I
Yes.
have the mic?
Yes, Mike.
Okay.
Mike incoming.
Okay. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time for this session. But you should take all this away, and if you go to bricksfortheblind.org, then you'll be able to find these instructions and carry on building with text-based instructions. And then you can sign up to write more instructions. So, yes, we're going to be hanging around outside somewhere. Love to talk some more.